Today's goal is 100 berries. You know the drill, smash that button to get that juicy fruit and hit subscribe for more amazing recaps. Now let's get into it. Everyone's just lost in their usual grind. Sungwoo steps off a packed bus, clearly tired from the ride. He does this rough commute daily from home, and his buddy Hanho doesn't miss the chance to mock him. Sungwoo might have toughed it out as a Special Forces Reserve Sergeant, but 2 hours of bus hell? Apparently, that's his new limit. Sungwoo fires back, reminding Hanho that he never even finished his service all thanks to a girl, Myung. That one shuts Hanho up fast, and they head to class, with Sungwoo feeling a little guilty about jabbing at his friend. Just as he's about to check in, Hanho's staring up, claiming he saw downloading monsters flash across the sky over the library until it hit 100%. Sungwoo brushes it off as Hanho being hung up on his ex or seeing things from too much gaming. Telling him to snap back to reality, they head to class. During the lecture, Sungwoo struggles to stay awake, and then total blackout. Suddenly, a system message flashes. They have to pick a survival class for the apocalypse, with a 15-second timer and a set of skills floating in front of them. Panic kicks in. Some students warn against touching anything, but Sungwoo's gut says not picking is even worse. He reaches for a warrior card, but Min-soo, a chubby classmate, grabs it first, instantly getting a sword. Rattled, Sungwoo randomly snags the card with the most stars, landing a 5-star Necromancer class that fuses into him. When time's up, Sungwoo and Min-soo are the only ones who picked cards. Min-soo's loving his new sword, but chaos explodes as a goblin-like creature clings to a student who stumbles into the class, crying for help until it kills him right there. The room loses it, everyone backing away while Sungwoo realizes Min-soo isn't much help. Sungwoo braces himself as the goblin lunges, and with one solid kick, he sends it flying. Weighing almost nothing, the goblin's easy prey, so Sungwoo grabs a chair, smashes it over the goblin's head, and kills it, earning 10 gold from the system. The class stares in shock, but Sungwoo quickly grasps that the world's transformed into a game. A new system message reveals that he can now command the dead. With a single touch, the goblin reanimates as his skeletal minion. Just then, 2 more goblins charge in, and Sungwoo commands his skeleton to attack, but the goblins start dismantling it. Sungwoo demands Min-soo's sword, but the guy's paralyzed. Dismissing him as deadweight, Sungwoo chucks another chair, buys his skeleton time to finish off the goblins, and gains another 20 gold. As more students realize something's off, Sungwoo opens the curtains to see fires everywhere. Some suggest escaping campus, but they run into more goblins. Sungwoo's skeletons charge forward, holding them off so his classmates can flee. It's survival time, and Sungwoo knows grinding these monsters will only make him stronger. After a few battles and 1 skeleton sacrifice, Sungwoo levels up, choosing a skill to control 1 more minion. Down the hall, Hanho freaks out over the skeletons, but Sungwoo explains they're part of his class. They're interrupted by a message granting a 10% fatal blow chance if 5 party members have daggers, courtesy of Hanho's new rogue skills. The next mob, led by a goblin chief, triggers Sungwoo's scent of death ability, weakening the goblins. The chief counters with Wild Berserker, pushing back the skeletons until Sungwoo orders 1 to sever the chief's arm. That shuts down the buff and the skeletons wipe out the goblins. Sungwoo even nabs a crude spear and the chief's Berserker bracelet, his skeletons creaking in eerie excitement. Reaching the campus entrance, they find survivors. Sungwoo hides his skeletons to avoid spooking them, but a bully-turned-shield master, Jin-suk, declares himself the boss, claiming they need to hold the monsters back for backup. Sungwoo disagrees, believing help isn't coming, and he marches on, leaving Jin-suk fuming. Soon, they hit another goblin wave, and Sungwoo's skeletons spring into action. With Death Sand reducing goblin stats, Sungwoo's undead minions tear through them. 1 goblin flees, but Sungwoo hurls his spear, pinning it. Impressed, his classmates cheer him on, and the system rewards him a roulette ticket for killing 20 monsters, setting his rank to Infinite A rare achievement. He commends his skeletons, who respond with their bone-chilling sounds. Inside the cafe, he warns everyone, no rescue is coming. A student points out that the rooftop boss killed their professor, making it clear where they have to go. Reluctantly, Hanho joins him, needed for the knife buff, while Joseon, a 3-star tiger hunter, also steps up. Jin-suk, still making excuses, stays behind. Upstairs, they fend off goblins, with Jisoo swiftly slicing through two from behind. The last words of a dying professor warn them against the rooftop, but Sung-woo pushes on, fury driving him. As they reach the rooftop, goblins pillage student corpses, enraging Sung-woo and Jisoo. With the Berserker bracelet boosting his skeletons, Sung-woo unleashes them. Even Hanho gets in on the action, scoring his first kill and feeling like he's living in anime. But then the goblin captain rallies the goblins. Sung-woo's skeletons hold strong, yet they start falling under the captain's assault. Drained, Sung-woo plans his next move as Hanho flings two knives at the boss, barely scratching him. The boss's fury spikes, and he barrels toward Hanho, who's barely holding it together. Sung-woo's skeletons jump to defend him, but two of them get crushed in a single hit. One skeleton scrapes out a lucky shot, and as the boss deals with it, Jisoo seizes the moment and slices him, barely making a mark. Sung-woo realizes it's time to go strategic, uses his skeletons as decoys, landing a spear throw that grazes the boss's cheek. Now enraged, the boss crushes more skeletons, leaving Sung-woo with just enough mana for one last summon. Desperate, he spots a sword buried in the rubble and knows he's got to end this now. Grabbing the sword, he sends his final two skeletons charging in. They don't last long, but just as the boss is distracted, the third skeleton leaps with its sword. The boss deflects it, but Sung-woo's move was all about activating sword synergy. Now, with Jisoo himself and the skeleton armed, they trigger a 50% weight reduction and 10% attack speed boost. Sung-woo dives in with a chair, and the others follow. Hanho even manages to stab the boss's arm with a knife. Sung-woo orders his skeleton to strike, and, in a shocking twist, the skeleton, his first goblin kill, slices the boss's head clean off in one swing. They're rewarded with 255 gold, and Sung-woo levels up to 3. The boss's mana boosts the skeleton to an elite goblin, complete with a forehead tattoo and a commander attribute that'll come in handy with more summons. Hanho and Jisoo level up too, each snagging a skill card. Sung-woo's lets him create bone weapons, a nifty tool for summoning swords, clubs, and more. With his exclusive quest to avenge the professor complete, his destiny takes a slight turn, and he gains the capacity to summon 5 minions. Hanho's reward? A hood that boosts his chance to dodge monsters by 50%, though he's ready to fight. Jisoo gets a fire whetstone that might set her sword ablaze during attacks. Heading back down, they find Jin-suk fuming everyone, saying he should have gone with Sung-woo. He snaps, calling Sung-woo a fool who's probably dead. But just as he's ranting, Sung-woo's skeletons loom behind him, and he nearly jumps out of his skin. Sung-woo pushes open the entrance and casually calls him pathetic, sparking laughter from the students. Sung-woo urges everyone to follow him outside, where they see bodies scattered across the campus. He suspects goblins were behind the carnage. Hanho spots a group of survivors led by Dae-sung Park, the student council president. Dae-sung, claiming he can guarantee their safety, extends an invite to join him but insists Sung-woo first destroy his skeletons, labeling them creepy and a potential threat. Jisoo having none of it. She calls Dae-sung out for embezzling funds from the festival, exposing him as a hypocrite. Flushed, Dae-sung is speechless as she leads her party away. Later, Jisoo spills more details. Dae-sung was a spoiled rich kid who manipulated girls, some of whom were her friends. Furious, Hanho is ready to fight. Sung-woo suggests they cut through the hillside, where fewer monsters likely lurk. On the path, they spot an orc larger than the goblin boss. With a roar, it charges. Sung-woo, thrilled by the potential for new skeleton material, braces. The orc swings, but a goblin skeleton intercepts, taking the hit for Jisoo. The one-armed skeleton counters with a fierce slash, dealing massive bleed damage. Sung-woo's party flees into the woods, using the terrain to bait the orc, while Hanho and the skeletons unleash a barrage of knives. The orc smashes skeletons left and right, but Sung-woo keeps resummoning from nearby goblin corpses until he's out of mana. 2 skeletons grab the orc's arms, giving Sung-woo and Jisoo a shot. Jisoo slashes its leg while Sung-woo hacks off its arm. The one-armed skeleton finishes it with a strike to the neck, netting them 110 gold. Sung-woo tries making the orc into a skeleton but fails due to his summon level. Instead, he crafts bone clubs for his skeletons to reach a synergy bonus, giving them all a power boost. He hands Hanho a sword, telling him to return it if things get rough. Approaching another blocked entrance, they get a new message. They must defeat a boss monster within 8 hours, or the surrounding creatures will power up. Another alert warns that an orc hunting unit has begun tracking them, with the size and strength of the unit based on the number of people in the party. Given their small group, they should face a lighter challenge, unlike Daesung's larger, noisy crew, who quickly attract the orcs' attention. The first assault begins. 5 orcs are after Sungwoo's team. Sungwoo sets up a trap with abandoned cars and skeletons. As the orcs approach, Hanho taunts them, calling them greedy pig bastards. And they charge in fury, straight into the ambush. The skeletons strike, knocking out the orcs with their club synergy. And Sungwoo's team finishes them off, earning 231 gold plus a bonus 100 gold for clearing the wave. Sungwoo levels up to 4 and picks a card that lets him summon 2 additional skeletons. Hanho unlocks a high-speed dagger skill, while Jisuyun gains 2 strength points. Seeing more orcs attacking a bus up ahead, Jisuyun suggests they coordinate with the spearmen inside, but Sungwoo doubts his willingness to cooperate. Inside, 2 survivors, Kyunsuli wielding a spear and another with a shield, are struggling. Just then, a cart loaded with skeletons crashes into the orcs, scattering them. The bus passengers panic, mistaking the skeletons for even worse monsters. Hanho bangs on the bus door, assuring them they're allies. The spear wielder explains they can buy items using gold collected from monster kills via an E-rank shop inside. Sungwoo tries his luck on the gold roulette and scores a legendary item, the Tear of the Sea Spirit, which boosts mana by 200 and recovery by 200%, perfect for summoning more minions. He also spins the silver roulette, gaining a Vanguard shield, while Jisuyun picks up a second-place bronze sword, and Hanho gets a potion bundle. As they rejoin the fight, they spot Daesung's team struggling on the sports field, overwhelmed by orcs. Sungwoo's team races in with the bus, ready to crash through the chaos and give them a fighting chance. Kyung-soo-hee, the spearman, drives the bus with a grin as gold racks up for each orc killed. Meanwhile, Hanho and the skeletons are clearing the way, knives flying. As the bus screeches to a halt near the survivors, Sungwoo calls for them to board. Jisuyun slashes an orc, and thanks to the fire whetstone she picked up from that rooftop boss, the orc ignites in flames. The remaining orcs fall fast, Sungwoo and his minions handling them with ease. When the fight's over, Daesung and his so-called awakened buddies try to board, but Sungwoo blocks them. He knows they tried using the others as bait to escape. Daesung fumes but stops short as an angry roar echoes through the area. A system alert follows, announcing the orc chief's rage over the failed hunt. Sungwoo's face tightens. He knows he'll need all the help he can get. With reluctant pride, Daesung accepts his offer but balks when Sungwoo demands his chainmail as a fare for protection. Grudgingly, he hands it over, and Sungwoo equips it on his oldest minion, a one-armed skeleton he calls Raiti. Raiti, struggling with the chainmail, stands as Sungwoo gives a final word to the survivors. The orc chief is done with waves. Now it's an all-out war on humans. A survivor mentions seeing over 100 orcs gathered in the gym, sending ripples of fear through the crowd, some even receiving penalties for losing the will to fight. Sungwoo dismisses the exaggeration. There aren't nearly that many left, and he volunteers to fight them himself. Daesung's lackeys smirk, figuring he'll be digging his own grave. Even Jisuyun points out that facing so many alone might be reckless, but Sungwoo's already decided. Escorting the survivors to safety, he heads off with his minions, with his allies watching from the bus, ready to jump in if needed. At the sports ground, he encounters a massive group of orcs led by an enraged, red-haired orc, clearly a mid-level boss. The red-haired orc commands his troops, but Sungwoo takes a defensive position on a narrow staircase. He triggers his bracelet skill, Wild Berserker, giving himself and his minions a temporary boost against goblin-type enemies. With their knives at the ready, the skeletons launch an assault, dropping orcs quickly. But the red-haired orc deflects the attacks, forcing Sungwoo to order a switch to bone clubs. The orcs push back hard, overwhelming the skeletons until Raiti, furious at seeing his comrades fall, nearly leaps in. Sungwoo holds him back. It's not his turn yet. Instead, Sungwoo reanimates the fallen orcs, now skeletal warriors, and with a synergy boost from their matching axes, they tear through the orc ranks. Unlike the living, these skeletons don't tire, creating an endless stream of undead orcs that keeps the battle in Sungwoo's favor. From the windows, The survivors are stunned at the sight, and his friends on the bus cheer him on. Sungwoo's legendary item, Tear of the Sea Spirit, is a game-changer, his mana regenerating at lightning speed. The remaining orcs hold strong, but Sungwoo signals Raiti, who dives in and finishes off the last of them in seconds. As the dust settles, Sungwoo receives a new roulette ticket for slaying 100 monsters, pushing his rank to infinite status, a rare achievement. But before he can catch his breath, a crash at the main gate signals another Struggle Daesung's group has been captured by a pack of orcs. Sungwoo rushes toward them, inspiring other awakened bystanders to follow. Inside, he finds Daesung and his friends held captive by a shaman orc, now acting as their leader, surrounded by the bodies of other monsters. The scene's grim. Daesung, terrified, pleads for help, but Sungwoo coldly reminds him he got himself into this mess. As Sungwoo's party charges, the orcs start slaughtering Daesung's crew in some twisted ritual, powering up the boss. The reinforced shaman unleashes Breath of Abyss, a confusion-inducing aura that drains mana. Hanho drinks a potion to clear his mind and offers one to Sungwoo, but Sungwoo waves it off. The curse has the opposite effect on him, pushing his mana to an insane 4,000. He hands the potion to Jisuyun instead. With his boosted stats, Sungwoo now commands 50 minions. The boss, thrown off by Sungwoo's unexpected power, watches as Sungwoo revives every fallen monster in the room, stacking synergies as each minion's weapon matches those around them. Overflowing with strength, Sungwoo orchestrates a storm of attacks. The orc shaman smashes several skeletons, but they revive immediately, relentless in their assault. Temporarily transformed by Breath of Abyss, Sungwoo looms over the shaman, terrifying the boss, who tries to escape but is trapped by the surrounding undead. In a final attempt to fight back, the boss lunges at Sungwoo, only for Raiti to step in and decapitate him in one clean swing. Sungwoo's reward? 1,055 gold and a level boost for Raiti, who now ranks at level 3 with improved defense and commander attributes. Hanho spots an ominous item emerging from the boss's mouth, a devil attribute orb, bound to require heavy sacrifices to remove. Still, Sungwoo claims it, as its mana-leeching abilities align perfectly with his Necromancer skills. With his boosted stats fading as Breath of Abyss wears off, he exits to the crowd's cheers as the gate seal lifts, signaling the end of their campus tutorial. Outside, the scene's just as chaotic. Kyung-soo-hee, the spearman, offers to take them to a nearby military base with the 2 buses he's secured. But Sungwoo waves him off, making an excuse about living nearby. All the survivors pile onto the bus, but Hanho and Jisoo stay back, choosing to stick with Sungwoo. Sungwoo, ever the joker, turns to Hanho, suggesting he should give up an arm to max out the synergy with his one-handed skeleton. Righty. The moment's cut short as Kyung-soo suddenly stops his bus, eyes wide. Up ahead, a swarm of dragons swoop down, zeroing in on the second, slower-moving bus. The dragons pluck it up like prey, slaughtering everyone on board in seconds. Sungwoo and his team stare in grim silence, watching the scene unfold. Breaking the silence, Sungwoo looks at his companions and says, "From now on, we're hunting the monsters getting stronger, or we end up like those guys." With that, Sungwoo leads them off, eyes set on their next target. The goblins stand no chance, fleeing as Sungwoo and his undead minions close in. After the final blow, Sungwoo's system pings with another level up. Now he's at level 6, and he picks a strength boost card, adding 3 points to his power. Outside, Jisoo finishes taking down her 9th goblin, and Sungwoo nods at Hanho to gather the daggers. "All right, team," he says, "we're switching to orcs. They're tougher, better XP, and the rewards? Worth it." Their search for orcs leads them to a grim scene. A few military vehicles scattered around, bodies of fallen soldiers clutching their field shovels in a final stand. Then, Movement A soldier is still alive, though clearly confused by the sight of Sungwoo's skeletons. Sungwoo steps forward, dispelling his doubts with a quick explanation. He'll need everyone on board if they're going to survive what's coming. The soldier reports back to Sergeant Kim about Sungwoo's party. Kim's situation is rough. He's injured, stuck in his vehicle, legs slashed by a goblin he managed to take down. Sungwoo, curious, asks why the military is fighting with shovels instead of guns. Kim explains with frustration. The guns stopped working, which is why the military is in such bad shape. Hanho suggests giving Kim a healing potion, but Sungwoo hesitates, thinking that free handouts aren't ideal. Kim, sensing the hesitation, offers information in exchange. He warns them about monstrous wolves, huge as bulls, that wiped out entire squads, and mentions 2 blue QR codes. He spotted one at the bus station, the other at the subway transfer center. Scanning one installs a survivor communication app on your phone, the only way to stay connected. Satisfied with the trade, Sungwoo hands him the potion. Kim invites them to join him as he reunites with the main unit, but Sungwoo, wary, declines. As a farewell warning, he tells Kim about the dragons that hunt moving vehicles. Kim and the soldiers' faces pale, but they thank him and the 2 groups part ways. At the bus station, Sungwoo's party scans the QR code, installing the app. An announcement flashes on screen. The game officially launched today. In the first round of class selection, 2,967,821 were chosen as players. Only 1,341,122 remain. A second round of class selection is set for 3 days. The message board costs gold 1,000 to post, 100 to comment, so it's empty until a new post appears, claiming that level 8 players are building a safe zone at H apartment in Hwasong, near Han-ho's place. Intrigued, Sungwoo plans to go, though he's wary, being only level 6. But as they start toward H apartments, the post is deleted, replaced by another calling it false information. A glimpse of the author shows fanged teeth, giving him a vampire-like look. Elsewhere in the city, a father fights to protect his daughter from goblins, swinging a baseball bat and calling for help. A knife suddenly whizzes by, taking down a goblinet's Sungwoo's minions, who quickly dispatch the rest. Sungwoo offers to escort the pair safely home, but the father explains they just ventured out for food. Sungwoo shares some of his rations with them. 2 goblins dart into a basement, but the father warns them against following, calling it a place of horrors. Undeterred, Sungwoo's team heads in, discovering it's the Elder Slime's shrine. They face a swarm of slimes, each kill yielding 140 gold. Though corrosive to metal, the slimes can't melt bones, making Sungwoo's skeletons their perfect predators. Suddenly, the Elder Slime boss emerges, crushing one of Sungwoo's skeletons. Sungwoo stabs it with a bone spear, and Jisoo tosses a skeleton toward him, which Sungwoo quickly breaks down into more spears. The slime tries to retaliate, but an orc skeleton steps in, shielding Sungwoo. This skeleton is carrying a bag of bones, a jackpot for Sungwoo, who crafts a barrage of spears, piercing the slime boss repeatedly. Raiti finishes it off, netting the team 2,255 gold. They collect the potent slime mucus and an elder slime core, which holds a highly concentrated acid, perfect for fusing or dissolving objects. Meanwhile, Han-ho spots troubling new posts on the app, with chaotic reports from the H apartment. Anyone who arrives has their comments mysteriously deleted, and both Han-ho and Sungwoo sense something dark going on. At night, a group of thugs discuss their twisted plans. They earn 500 gold for killing ordinary humans, but taking down a player yields 1,000 times their level in gold. Their leader, a bald thug, mentions their true boss, Professor Red, a serial killer who transformed him into a vampire. He's halfway through explaining when one of their lackeys reports fresh prey in the park. 3 targets, waiting. Bald Vampire grins. It's their 17th hunt, and the H apartments are the perfect hunting ground, where residents keep quiet and prey is plentiful. But when they get there, the prey turns out to be skeletons in disguise. Sungwoo's minions shift to bone spears, piercing the car. Sungwoo smashes the window and drags the bald vampire out. The thug transforms, trying to fight back, but Raiti chops off his hand, leaving his lackey terrified. Under pressure, the lackey spills details. There are 8 others inside the building. But before he can say more, bald vampire beheads him, disgusted at his own weakness. Sungwoo, watching the vampire regenerate his arm by drinking blood, realizes the vampire's class might be even more gruesome than his own. Sungwoo rallies his team, ordering them to fall back as the vampire enters berserk mode, boosting his stats, but with a steep penalty, he'll weaken considerably afterward. The vampire lunges at Sungwoo, dodging attacks from skeletons and deflecting Jisoo's sword swings. Han-ho throws daggers in rapid succession, irritating the vampire, who tries to charge him. Raiti parries the blow, nearly decapitating him, but the vampire escapes. Sungwoo blocks with his shield, which shatters under the force. After more back and forth, Raiti seizes the opening, slicing off the vampire's arm again. Reinforcements arrive for the vampire, but even they hesitate at his monstrous form. Jisoo hacks off the regenerating arm once more, while Sungwoo's orc skeleton serves as bait. Sungwoo stabs through the skeleton, his sword driving straight into the vampire's neck, and finally finishes him by decapitating him. They earn 1,000 gold for the kill, confirming Sungwoo's suspicions. H apartments were a trap, with players hunted for gold and experience. As the vampire's lackeys surrender, Sungwoo interrogates them, learning their real boss likely holds a 5-star class, granting him the power to turn others into monsters. Upon hearing they'd killed 21 or 22 innocents, Sungwoo orders his minions to finish them off, gaining another 5,000 gold. Hanho and Ji Soo-yoon are shocked, but Sungwoo calmly explains it's to protect other innocents. They reluctantly agree, understanding the grim reality. The next morning, a post appears warning others about the murderers at H apartments, claiming a player with skeletons took them down. Sergeant Kim reads it and smiles, certain it's Sungwoo's party. Other survivors chime in with appreciation, though no one knows Sungwoo's real name. In a ruined building, a mysterious figure reads the comments with a grin, then heads out with a purpose. Hanho brings Sungwoo's attention to a new post from a player named Prosecutor. It's a call for others to share missing person updates, synergy tips, and anything that might help other survivors. Sungwoo's group, finally reaching Hanho's apartment, finds the place littered with dead orcs. Hanho anxiously calls for his parents at room 202, and they rush out to greet him, safe and sound. Surprisingly, his dad didn't choose a class card despite his love for card games. He opted out. Sungwoo, baffled by the scattered orc bodies, asks how they defended themselves. Hanho's father sheepishly admits he used pesticide spray, and everyone stares, dumbfounded. After a warm meal, Hanho's mother thanks Sungwoo and Ji Soo-yoon for keeping her son safe. She brings them green tea, and Hanho, eager to impress, brags about his achievements. His mother promptly tells him to shut up, much to the team's amusement. Outside, some biker gang members eye the lit windows, plotting. Inside, Jisoo enjoys a post-shower moment in borrowed pajamas, thanking Hanho's mom. Meanwhile, Sungwoo, Hanho, and Raiti take a well-deserved shower of their own. Watching the family, Sungwoo feels a wave of relief, grateful that Hanho's parents made it through safely and lucky enough to witness this brief moment of peace. Hanho's father, armed with nothing but pesticides, had somehow managed to fend off orcs. No small feat given that orcs rely heavily on their sense of smell. Sungwoo can tell Hanho is thrilled to have found his parents alive, but he warns them all. This place isn't safe. Those orcs were mere scouts. If the main group arrives, it'll be an all-out massacre. But the bigger problem is they have no clear destination. Just then, another post pops up from the prosecutor. He shares that a friend, a 3-star pioneer, has created a small monster-free zone at Yeongdongpa Station. But there's a catch: survivors must pay in gold or rations to help maintain the pioneer's resource-draining skill. Sungwoo, while skeptical, knows there's truth to it. The world has indeed become a game, but it's too far to take Hanho's parents there safely. Another comment by Section Chief Gu, also a 3-star pioneer, claims he's set up a safe area at Hwasong Fortress, just a 20-minute bus ride away. The group decides to head there in the morning. On their way, Hanho's dad mentions some delinquent thieves who've been terrorizing other survivors. Sungwoo, already irked by the growing chaos, braces himself. Sure enough, a gang of delinquents on motorbikes shows up, a cocky girl at the front addressing them as geezers and demanding their resources. Before Sungwoo can signal his hidden minions, a low growl interrupts, sending the delinquents scrambling as a pack of giant wolves closes in. Realizing they're outmatched, Sungwoo motions for everyone to back into the building. One wolf lunges, but Sungwoo hurls a slime-filled bottle in its face, melting its flesh. His minions rain bone spears on the weakened creature, taking it down. As another wolf tries to flee, a skeleton blocks it, and Sungwoo strikes, finishing it with one blow. The last wolf, seeing its pack decimated, hesitates before being skewered by spears. They earn 240 gold per kill, pushing Sungwoo to level 7. Ji Soo-yoon, feeling they might be a burden, voices her worries, but Sungwoo reassures her of their value, though he's unsure about Hanho's progress. Attempting to resurrect a wolf fails due to his level limit. The next morning, the group watches a helicopter pursued by wyverns, only to see it shredded midair by a powerful alpha wyvern. Sung-woo realizes the army is no match for these monsters, and with wyverns napping on nearby rooftops, he suggests they wait. Night falls, and a message prompts them to pick another class card to aid in survival. Han-ho urges his parents to choose the highest star card, and as the 15-second countdown begins, cards flash in front of them. Sung-woo knows that while high stars are tempting, synergy with his Necromancer class is crucial. He selects a 3-star Dark Mage Link card, unlocking a new skill, Death Arrow, which boosts his minions while weakening enemies. Han-ho, fumbling for a 4-star card, accidentally picks a 1-star Priest card, gaining a 10-second shield after each enemy kill. Han-ho's father, overjoyed, takes a 3-star Pioneer card, granting him the ability to create safe zones A relief to Sung-woo, as this removes the need to head to Hwasong Fortress. His mother, choosing a 1-star Chef card, faces criticism from Han-ho for not picking a more combat-focused class. Saddened, his parents feel the strain of Han-ho's expectations. Ji Soo-yoon, opting for a 3-star Hitman card, gains the Supreme Sense skill, heightening her awareness in dangerous situations. Determined to prove her worth to Sung-woo, she readies herself for future battles. Sung-woo has Han-ho's father explain the Pioneer skills, learning it requires 10 mana every 10 minutes to sustain a safe zone of 2,150 square feet with a height limit of 33 feet. Once mana depletes, it starts draining 100 gold per 10 minutes. With plans to reserve it for emergencies only, Sung-woo emphasizes caution around other pioneers, suspecting they'll abuse their power. As dawn breaks, the wyverns take off. Sung-woo instructs Han-ho to check the forum for nearby stores or roulette machines, intent on spending his gold to grow stronger. They hear the rumble of Motorbike's A group of delinquents, led by a level 6 fighter named Tae-sung, who needs just a bit more gold for the silver roulette. Returning to his hideout, Tae-sung finds his group somber. One member, Eugene, has been turned into a lesser vampire by a bloodthirsty boss. Another vampire warns Tae-sung, unless they gather 10,000 gold within 2 days, he'll kill them all. Sung-woo's party barges in, unimpressed by the hostile customer service. Sung-woo demands everything they have, setting off the vampire, who lunges at him with fangs bared. Sung-woo's skeletons pin the vampire down, and he stabs the vampire in the throat, warning him to stay still unless he wants his head removed. Laughing, the vampire breaks free, his hands crushing the skeletons. Han-ho and Jisoo strike, Jisoo severing half of his arm, which burns due to her fire whetstone. As the vampire tries to throw a broken sword piece, Jisoo's Supreme Sense kicks in, allowing her to dodge. Sung-woo's new skill amplifies his minions, weakening the vampire tenfold. Orc skeletons pound on the vampire, who yields, feigning surrender. Sung-woo, seeing through the act, crafts bone spears that pierce him, immobilizing him. The vampire mocks Sung-woo, warning that his boss's plans will soon wipe them all out. Unfazed, Sung-woo instructs Jisoo to finish him off, earning 322 gold for the kill. Tae-sung, shocked, pleads for mercy, claiming no affiliation with the vampire, but Sung-woo demands all their valuables. Han-ho remarks that these low-tier thugs don't have much gold, and Ji Soo-yoon speculates a connection to the H Apartment's vampire. Sung-woo realizes the vampire lord is using these minions to amass gold, spreading vampirism like a virus. Knowing they'll need more power to handle multiple vampires at once, Sung-woo asks Tae-sung for directions to the nearest store. Tae-sung obliges, but a red system message suddenly appears. It's a question. What should be done with those arrogant enough to skip the second-class selection? Sung-woo senses something ominous. One delinquent, Min-sik, panics. He didn't pick a card, distrustful of the system. He whispers to Tae-sung that he's not alone. Chae-hee also opted out. A new red system message flashes. Those who ignored the second-class selection will be turned into monsters. Panic sets in as Min-sik realizes he's transforming into a beast, urging his friends to run before it's too late. Sung-woo's face hardens. If these unchosen transform completely, they'll be unstoppable. He issues an order, and Righty and his skeletons charge before the transformation can finish. Sung-woo hesitates for a moment but knows there's no other choice. A skeleton soldier falls instantly to a clumsy swipe from a half-formed werewolf, proving Sung-woo's fears right. These transformations must be stopped. Finally, Sung Woo's minions overpower the two would-be monsters, granting him 6,000 gold and pushing him to level 8. The shock is immediate. The partially transformed werewolves were worth 3,000 gold each, compared to the 240 gold he earned for previous kills. Choosing random stat cards as his reward, Sung Woo gains 3 points in speed. Han Ho, now visibly shaken, worries about facing monsters as powerful as these werewolves. Sung Woo, however, has a new plan. He's held back from resurrecting humans until now, fearing judgment, but desperate times call for bold moves. Both werewolves become his minions, now as strong as vampires. Tae-sung looks uncomfortable seeing his friend resurrected, but Sung Woo presses him for directions to the store. Tae-sung reluctantly reveals the store's location in a used car complex run by a group that kidnaps humans for the vampires. When they arrive, the place is eerily silent, devoid of any guards. The distant sound of screams catches their attention. As they sneak closer, they spot a battle. A monstrous bear with chained wrists pounds a vampire, showing no mercy. Ji Soo-yoon points out that the bear must have been human, unable to pick a class due to his restraints before turning feral. The two exhausted fighters make a final charge, but are swiftly taken down by Sung Woo's werewolf minions. The bear, worth 3,500 gold, is quickly added to Sung Woo's undead ranks. Han Ho spots an unsettling sight. The spearman from school, Kyung-soo, trapped among other captives. Ji Soo-yoon guesses the vampires captured him and the others. Just as Tae-sung is about to lead them to the store, a familiar face appears. Eugene, now controlled by a true vampire boss. The vampire lord steps forward, dismissing Sung Woo as an insect and marking him with a curse that will reveal his location every 12 hours. Han Ho tries, but his priest skills are too weak to lift the curse. A special quest, No Country for Wicked Men, appears. Sung Woo must eliminate the vampire lord, a task that would yield 30,000 gold and a C-rank item ticket. The vampire won't stop hunting him until one of them dies. Reaching the D-rank store, Sung Woo finally spends his 10,000 gold. He spins and lands a legendary master craftsman skill coupon, unlocking Refuge in the Void, a skill that creates a resting space for his minions and allows him to summon them instantly. It includes a sub-skill, Great Spirit, which spreads a curse of death over the area whenever he summons multiple minions at once. Han Ho and Ji Soo-yoon are awestruck by Sung Woo's incredible luck as he recalls his minions into the void, enabling the group to move without alarming others. At another location, Kyung-soo Lee stands amidst bodies, regretting parting ways with Sung Woo's group outside the campus. His group had reached the military base, only to find it in ruins. Their hopes dashed, survivors blamed him for leading them there. Hearing about Hwasong Fortress, they made the trek, but were met with monsters and vampires. One vampire now kicks Kyung-soo, threatening to turn him into food if he slows down. He knows they'll dispose of him once they find a replacement. The vampires herd the survivors toward a building, only for their path to be blocked by Raiti. One vampire, underestimating him as a simple monster, charges, but a rain of bone spears soon pins him down. Sung Woo's minions leap from the void, and Kyung-soo's heart lifts at the sight of Sung Woo, who has clearly grown in power since they last met. Even Ji Soo-yoon shows impressive growth, though Han Ho still hides behind Raiti. Following Sung Woo's command, the minions wipe out the vampires, sparing only one for interrogation. Begging for mercy, the last vampire reveals that 12 players work alongside them inside, led by a level 5 vampire manager. Sung Woo thanks her, but has no intention of sparing her life. As she pleads, Kyung-soo drives his spear through her, seeking vengeance for his fallen friends. Tears fall as he remembers them, and Sung Woo reassures him, stating that while the world has changed, they can't let scum like these vampires run free. Inside the factory, the vampire manager oversees the capture of humans, telling the other hunters that these humans are a source of food and experience. Once their leader's plan is complete, they will reign as the apex predators. The human players are thrilled, hoping to be turned into vampires themselves. Just then, Sung Woo strides in, calling them delusional creeps. School survivors in the cages spot him and cheer, angering the vampire manager, who orders them to be silent. The battle is about to begin. The vampire manager, cocky and confident, strides towards Sung Woo, but Sung Woo is more than ready. In a swift move, black smoke engulfs the vampires and players, disorienting them as Curse of Death spreads, severely weakening their stats. Confusion sets in, and Sungwoo's minions charge. The vampire manager tries to rally his team, urging them to target Sungwoo directly, believing the skeletons will stop if they defeat him. As the vampire manager makes a dash towards Sungwoo, Hanho smashes a bottle of slime into his face, and Ji Soo-yoon quickly moves to free the survivors, slicing through their cages. Just then, Kyung-soo crashes his bus into the scene, calling for the freed survivors to get on board. The vampire manager, furious, tries to regain control of the battle, only for Righty to leap at him, slicing off his arm. Furious, the vampire lord, observing through his subordinate, lends his power to the vampire manager, turning him into a high-level vampire with berserk strength. Hanho's face pales as the vampire's true form emerges. The manager charges at Sungwoo, but the minions close in, intercepting him. A single blow from the vampire manager shatters an orc skeleton, but a werewolf skeleton claws him from behind. The vampire retaliates, punching the werewolf back, only to be slashed by another. Ji Soo-yoon seizes the moment, leaping at him with her sword. She catches his back, and in a coordinated move, grabs Righty, tossing him at the vampire, who lands a shallow but effective cut. Two more orc skeletons attack, but the vampire obliterates them in seconds. Wary of his limited corpses, Sungwoo revives more of the fallen monsters, but he knows the vampire's berserk mode could outlast his resources. Suddenly, his luck shifts. A Cerberus corpse lies nearby. Reviving it, he watches as the Cerberus aura enhances his werewolf skeletons, tipping the scales. The werewolves manage to pin down the vampire manager, and Sungwoo leans in, sneering, "Tell your boss his business here is bankrupt." With a final blow, Sungwoo claims victory, earning 10,000 gold. He successfully resurrects the vampire manager, unlocking a memory fragment. In a vivid flashback, Sungwoo witnesses the vampire lord questioning his managers about the game's purpose, a question even he can't answer. But he's sure of one thing: they must evolve, becoming a new dominant species. He orders them to lure survivors and gather supplies for an upcoming feast. Anger bubbles within Sungwoo as he snaps out of the vision, greeted by a new exclusive quest, Master of Death. He must either prevent or use a massacre to his advantage, a fate tied directly to his own. Hanho shakes Sungwoo, who appears lifeless, fearing the resurrection attempt killed him. When Sungwoo finally stirs, he assures Hanho with a grin, "I'm not going anywhere before you." Meanwhile, the vampire lord seethes, furious that Sungwoo killed his manager even with his intervention. Madame Yang, visibly anxious, asks if Sungwoo poses a threat, to which the vampire lord scoffs, dismissing the notion that puny skeletons could harm him. Once the feast is over, he plans to use the curse to track Sungwoo down. The following morning, Ji Soo-yoon shares her findings from the vampire manager's warehouse, potions, and a white one labeled treatment to alleviate infections. Testing it on Taesung's friend, who was partially vampirized, they're relieved when it partially restores her. Taesung thanks Sungwoo, but Sungwoo warns him to monitor her closely, promising he'll handle any issues. Later, Sungwoo has Hanho's father, Mr. Lee, activate his pioneer skill, casting a healing shield over their camp. Wounds start healing, and Hanho's mother offers food that provides buffs. Despite the risks, Ji Soo-yoon insists on joining Sungwoo's quest, determined to grow stronger. Just then, a notification sounds across all devices congratulating survivors for making it to Chapter 1. The message highlights the new reality. Those who couldn't adapt became werbeasts, but even more trials lie ahead. The event will run for 7 days, locking survivors within Suwon and Hwasong Fortress. Gold earnings are doubled, and defeating a werbeast grants a chance for a combo card. A boss monster will spawn in each region, offering valuable items. Sungwoo grins, eager for the rewards, while Hanho grumbles about the danger. Sungwoo shrugs, pointing out Hanho wouldn't last a day on his own. As they arrive at a new location, Sungwoo spots their target's kobolds lurking behind cars and barricades. These creatures, while capable of magic, are weak. He plans to use the encounter to level up Hanho and find new minions. Outside the parking lot, Sungwoo notices the scene resembles the college campus, another tutorial zone. Kyung-soo speculates rural areas might be safer due to low population density, and Ji Soo-yoon, thinking of her family in Jeju, assures them her well-connected relatives are likely safe. Inside a nearby mart, the entrance seals magically, transforming it into the Sorcerer's Fortress, a large-scale dungeon. Their only escape is defeating the boss. A massive magic circle materializes underfoot, scattering the group across the dungeon. Hanho plummets from a ceiling portal into a kobold nest. At first, he's emboldened, vowing to crush the puny kobolds. But panic takes over when he realizes he's truly alone. The kobolds close in, and he manages to kill one by accident, activating his priest skill, which grants him 10 seconds of invulnerability. Emboldened, Hanho laughs, channeling his inner action hero, and taunts the kobolds for being weaklings. Elsewhere, Kyung-soo and Ji Soo-yoon band together, determined to regroup with their scattered allies. Following a trail of blood, Ji Soo-yoon and Kyung-soo find Hanho, standing proudly over a pile of defeated kobolds. Ji Soo-yoon stares, unable to believe her eyes. Hanho grins, declaring he's finally awakened his hidden potential. Reunited, they agree they have little reason to worry about Sungwoo, who's surely handling things on his end. Meanwhile, Sungwoo and his minions carve through hordes of kobolds until they reach a grim scene. A pile of kobold corpses and a critically wounded survivor, too injured to heal with potions. The survivor gestures toward a box, revealing a mysterious egg inside a rare item with the potential to hatch. With his final breath, he tells Sungwoo that the dungeon's boss holds the token needed to unlock the egg. Recognizing the survivor as a 5-star dragon knight, Sungwoo realizes the egg could contain a true dragon, fueling his resolve to retrieve the token. More kobolds surge forward but fall swiftly under Sungwoo's minions' relentless assault. However, their reckless charges suggest something's amiss. Spotting a kobold sorcerer, Sungwoo has his minions eliminate it, leveling up and gaining a new skill, Corpse Explosion. Testing it on a cluster of fallen kobolds, the resulting blast clears several foes in one shot. Raiti makes quick work of 4 hidden kobolds, earning Sungwoo's praise. Soon, they encounter the Bosse high-level kobold sorcerer cloaked in a force field. The barrier, impervious to attacks, can only be broken by destroying 3 cores hidden throughout the dungeon. Enraged by the massacre of his underlings, the sorcerer initiates a low-level instant death spell, set to kill any player below level 10 if not stopped within an hour. With the clock ticking, Sungwoo tries detonating gathered kobold bodies around the force field, but the boss remains unscathed. Smirking, the boss sacrifices some health, reducing the spell's timer to 52 minutes. Determined, Sungwoo scours memory fragments from revived kobold sorcerers, pinpointing the core locations. Raiti finds and shatters the first core nearby, but with only 19 minutes left, they race to the next floor, where they encounter Hanho battling kobolds. Ji Soo-yoon informs Sungwoo that she's already destroyed a core on their floor. Wasting no time, they head for the final core. The group bulldozes through swarms of kobolds trying desperately to defend the core. Sungwoo and Raiti collaborate, with Raiti leaping over the defenders to slice the core in half. With the force field shattered, they have just 9 minutes left to kill the boss. Raging, the boss morphs into his true forme colossal, Twisted Tree Spirit. His strikes pulverize Sungwoo's minions, who barely evade the crushing blows. Ji Soo-yoon slices through a branch with a flaming sword, only for it to regenerate instantly. Sungwoo, thinking fast, orders a red wolf minion to hurl kobold bodies toward the boss, which he detonates mid-air, disfiguring its face. But the tree spirit's regeneration is relentless. Realizing fire's effectiveness, Sungwoo's team bombards the boss with flame attacks. His legendary Devil Bloodstorm orb leeches mana from the boss with each hit, progressively weakening it. With the boss vulnerable and mana drained, Sungwoo has his minions pile kobold corpses beneath it and detonates them in a massive blast. The boss finally collapses, defeated. Sungwoo earns 12,840 gold and reaches level 10, unlocking an infinite level rank. His new skill, Death Response, allows him to summon 10 temporary zombies outside his minion limit. Now capable of commanding 25 undead, he feels ready to face the Vampire Lord. In addition to gold, Sungwoo claims the Dragon Token, an item in the form of a masterless sword that boosts his strength by 6 and unlocks the Dragon Egg. Yet, lacking a synchronized class with Dragon Tamer, he's left with 2 options. Keep the egg close for 5,000 days or shorten that time by slaying powerful foes. Hanho jokes that Sungwoo would be middle-aged by the time the egg hatches naturally, encouraging him to slay foes instead. Just then, a message arrives from Taesung, stationed at Haegung Square to spy on the vampires. Hundreds of survivors are gathered, yet the vampires remain hidden. Taesung informs Sungwoo that sending private messages costs 300 gold, but Sungwoo appreciates his diligence. Not long after, Sungwoo discovers 2 freshly slain werewolves victims of the tree spirit and resurrects them, adding to his growing army of 15 minions. Confident, Sungwoo leads his party toward Hwasung Fortress, intending to settle matters with the vampires. As they approach, confusion spreads among the survivors, who realize their mysterious hosts are nowhere in sight. From a nearby building, vampires watch their unwitting guests, ready to spring their trap. An in-command vampire master arrives, ordering the group to prepare, stating that the vampire lord demands Sungwoo be eliminated before he can disrupt their grand feast. Taesung, watching their movements, quickly alerts Sungwoo. The vampires are closing in, tracking his last known location in elementary school. Following a trail of blood, the vampires reach a dead werewolf draped over a car, its wounds fresh. They assume Sungwoo's minions killed it and follow the trail to a nearby auditorium, charging inside. The lead vampire, a powerful master capable of taking on 2 werewolves simultaneously, directs low-ranked vampires forward, certain of victory. But Sungwoo lures them into a dead end, and their confidence wavers, sensing a trap. Summoning minions from the void, Sungwoo also activates Death Response, calling forth zombies. His undead army tears into the vampires, decimating their ranks as a female vampire lunges for Sungwoo only to be incinerated by Kobold Sorcerer's fireballs. Raiti finishes her off, slicing her clean in 2, earning Sungwoo a 2,000 gold reward. The vampire master, however, is relentless, mowing down zombies and skeletons alike. 2 zombies manage to bite him, but he effortlessly shakes them off and hurls himself at Sungwoo. In midair, Sungwoo detonates the remaining zombie, delivering a devastating blast that sends the vampire master crashing to the ground. Raiti seizes the opportunity, pinning the vampire as Sungwoo plunges his nameless sword into him, ending the fight. For killing a special player, he gains 20,000 gold, reducing the dragon eggs hatching days to 4,949. Reviving the slain vampires with their limbs intact, Sungwoo activates a new synergy. With over 5 vampire skeletons in his command, each minion now inflicts 5% bleed damage with every attack and triggers Berserk mode upon death, gaining a 10% stat boost. Confident in his formation, he turns his attention to the survivors. Meanwhile, Ji Soo-yoon and Han Ho have infiltrated the camp, where vampires are demanding survivors relinquish their weapons to ensure safety. Sensing the urgency, Ji Soo-yoon slips a private message to Sungwoo. The vampire lord, sensing his underlings' deaths, has accelerated his plans. As survivors line up, they spot werewolves mounted on spikes, an ominous display. Ji Soo-yoon scoffs, thinking how pitiful these players are to submit to vampires. Taesung approaches with news. Her twin swords are hidden in the designated spot, thanks to the gang's 2-star thief, Young-sik. Passing the weapons check, they blend in with the crowd. Suddenly, the vampire lord himself emerges, flanked by lesser vampires, each wearing an expression of smug disdain beneath their masks. Addressing the survivors, he proclaims humanity's evolutionary failure as the root of the current catastrophe, declaring the massacre of the weak as a stepping stone to the next stage of evolution. His words incite horror as vampires shed their masks and begin their slaughter. Spearman Kyung-soo crashes a school bus through the electric fences, breaking the perimeter. As Ji Soo-yoon and Han Ho usher survivors to safety, the vampire lord seethes with rage. Sungwoo, stepping out of the bus, mocks him, calling him the Mosquito King. Furious, the vampire lord orders Madame Yang and the human collaborators to hunt down the escapees. But Sungwoo remains unfazed, confident his team can handle them. Setting a trap, Sungwoo baits the vampire lord with a werewolf corpse filled with goblin bodies, detonating it on impact. Enraged, the vampire lord retaliates with red energy, signaling a regeneration of strength. Sungwoo, however, has more planned, exploding a bus packed with monster corpses, killing swathes of vampires in the blast. Meanwhile, Madame Yang, cornered by Ji Soo-yoon, struggles to land a hit. Ji Soo-yoon's battlefield experience far outweighs Madame Yang's hollow strength gained from biting chained captives. Landing a critical double slash, Ji Soo-yoon watches as Madame Yang falls, delivering the final blow. Elsewhere, Han Ho and Taesung battle a vampire guarding the survivors' safe zone. The vampire sneers, offering them the gift of vampirism to increase their odds in this twisted world. Han Ho, unimpressed, taunts him, stating he's already sticking with someone stronger. Songwoo. With a perfectly timed distraction, Han Ho kills a goblin, triggering his invincibility skill. Now unstoppable, he uses a high-speed slash, wearing the vampire down as Taesung and Kyung-soo deliver finishing strikes. The vampire lord, observing his minions' failures, grows enraged. Spotting Songwoo, he sneers, dismissing humanity's strength and proclaiming the vampire's superiority. But Songwoo counters with a list of the vampire lord's weaknesses: his inability to wield weapons, low defense despite rapid regeneration, and dependence on blood for his powers. Songwoo's final reveal? Every hit from his Devil's Bloodstone has been siphoning the Vampire Lord's health by 2%. Seeing himself weakening, the Vampire Lord activates his blood field, charging directly for Songwoo. Raiti intercepts, parrying with a skillful block, then hurls a slime-filled bottle at the vampire's face. The acidic substance melts his skin, blurring his vision, and with his blood reserves nearly depleted, his regeneration falters. Songwoo gives the order, and his minions surge forward, ready to end the Vampire Lord once and for all. As the Vampire Lord desperately seeks blood to regain strength, he catches the scent of the werewolf's blood on the rooftop, the very display meant to unnerve survivors. Racing toward it, he reaches the rooftop only to be ambushed by Songwoo's werewolf minion. Songwoo taunts him, revealing he was using the rooftop as a fresh supply for his undead army all along. The Vampire Lord crashes to the ground, severely wounded. Songwoo seizes the moment, having his minions hurl the weakened Vampire Lord into a room stacked with monster corpses, detonating the entire building in a final explosion. The Vampire Lord perishes in the blast. With his triumph, Songwoo earns 10,000 gold for eliminating a special player and an additional 30,000 gold plus a high-tier reward for completing the No Country for Wicked Men quest. Destiny shifts for Songwoo as he is granted an exclusive skill in return. His team arrives, and they celebrate their victory. The next morning, survivors rally, overjoyed to be saved, but confusion arises as a regiment of soldiers led by Sergeant Kim arrives. Kim reveals they had been monitoring these safe zones, but couldn't predict the disaster that had unfolded. Songwoo feels relief that the army hadn't attempted to face the vampires, as they seemed under-equipped. Kim then informs Songwoo that someone from the army wants to meet him. That evening, back in his quarters, Songwoo reflects on his victory, tallying his loot from the Vampire Lord fight. A total of 150,000 gold, a new bone armor skill that allows him to create armor from corpses, and a powerful crossbow capable of firing without reloading, a weapon perfectly suited to his backline role. As he tests the bone armor, he experiences a sudden nightmare. His parents engulfed in flames, crying out for help, and he, helpless and childlike, flees in terror. Awakening shaken, he prepares to meet the military representative. Lieutenant Major Taehyun Park barges in, straight to the point. He wants Songwoo to work with the army on reclaiming territory. Park explains that a rogue prosecutor in Yeongdongpa has formed the first survivor guild, creating a fortified safety zone that challenges the government's authority. Furious, Park believes all should rally under the army's banner. Songwoo disagrees, calling out the government's previous failures. Park grabs Songwoo's collar, but Songwoo shoves him away, declaring that he'll operate independently as a mercenary. The army's presence does reassure the survivors, though Ji Soo-yoon and Han Ho notice something unsettling in the soldiers' demeanor. Later, Sergeant Kim privately approaches Songwoo, apologizing for Park's behavior and revealing the army's dire situation. He shows Songwoo a top-secret item, a prophecy stone. By touching it, one can glimpse the future, though the visions vary. Songwoo, hesitant but curious, places his hand on the stone and witnesses a horrifying vision: a bleak world, where he and his allies have been turned into undead minions by a powerful figure, the Lich King. In his vision, the Lich King stares down at Songwoo, who is engulfed in flames. The prophecy ends, but Songwoo is left shaken. The stone declares that Season 2 is about to begin. Sergeant Kim admits he had a similarly grim vision and warns that the prophecy stones provide a significant advantage to those who access them. For Songwoo, the prophecy triggers a new exclusive quest, Master of Death. To complete it, he must seize the Grim Reaper's scythe, a powerful artifact, and as a reward, he'll gain a skill called Wave of Death, the devastating move he glimpsed during the vision. The scythe's location will be revealed once he reaches level 15. With only 2 months until the prophecy's events unfold, Songwoo realizes the urgency if he fails. The apocalyptic fate he saw might be unavoidable. Thanks for watching, everyone. Comment Flamingo for the next part.